bit earlier than this, but just take me when you get me. Um, Good to see you all. Happy Monday. It's the second day of December, and many of you I know are getting ready for the Christmas. You all are spending what you don't have. You all are using up credit cards and all that good stuff. And then come next year, you all got all kinds of problems paying back those credit card bill. Let me just tell you all something. Did you all know that people who spent their credit card last Christmas to buy gifts, many of them are still paying for those gifts and have already paid interest exceeding 100% of the cost of what they had paid for this stuff. People, don't be fooled. Don't let this trick of buying gifts and don't fall into that trap. Okay? Because if you got to use a credit card to pay for it and you can't repay that credit card in 30 days, then you could not afford it. Leave it alone. Learn to postpone gratifications and leave stuff alone. Leave the stuff in the store and stop putting yourself in debt. Because you paying minimum payments every month is not going to take you out of debt. And some of you are, when you start spending, you don't know when to stop. But anyway, that was a little bit of a gem for this morning. That's not why we're here today. Good morning, everybody. We are here today because we are going to be continuing with the reading of the Bible. Now, before I go any further, let me just remind you that when we come to read the Bible, this is not endorsing any particular religion or denomination. We do not do that. Okay? No, we don't. What we do is we try to read the Bible with an open mind and try to understand its contents and its context. Okay? And we have decent conversations about what is written in the Bible because you see, in recent times, there has been a drastic decline in people going to church or people even endorsing the Bible. And there are lots of people asking why people are not endorsing the Bible, and people are, moving away from God, and that's why the world is so vile, and that's why people have become so wicked. People didn't become wicked, my love. Maybe they learned it from the Bible. But anywho, with that being said, that stumped you? Why that stumped you? Have you ever read a more violent book? Well, I've read many books and I've never read one more violent. But anywho, just saying. And I know from me having read the Bible before over here, and a lot of you disagreeing with me, and you all, were vocal about it. I'm still here. And to me, that's like water on the back of a duck. You throw water on the back of a duck, it just rolls right off. That's me when people start to fuss about my opinions of what I'm reading in the Bible. Because it's not stuff I'm making up. It's stuff that I'm reading in the Bible. Okay? And so a lot of you have come out and you have a claim, especially in the current political climate, you have claimed that, oh, well, you are endorsing the Bible and you're endorsing whoever is saying that they are endorsing the Bible because we need God back in the schools and we need the children to be praying and reading the Bible and all of this nonsense that you need the children to be reading and praying in the schools, which I'm starkly opposed to. Because one thing, you have been raising your children in church to read the Bible, all this stuff. But yet, the people who claim to go to church are some of the most heartless and cruel people. So if you are in your church and you're preaching and you're claim to be teaching your members all these things, and they are not obeying, and they are adults, by the way, and they are not obeying, what are you going to do to the poor little children? Because they are impressionable, so you can impress on them at an early age. some kind of doctrine. No, not for the public school, not for the public space. But that's a conversation for another time. This morning, we're going to start the reading of Exodus. For those of you who did not catch all of the reading of Genesis, because Genesis had been giving us, while we were reading Genesis, it was giving us a hard time. I don't know if it's because of the new environment, why it's not itching right now, but we welcome this flow. We're not having any distractions because the internet is firm and solid. Maybe there's something wrong with my internet, but we are going to work with what we have because that's what we have learned to survive. All right. So this morning we are going to be reading Genesis chapters 1 and 2. This is when the Exodus started, with Moses taking the children of Israel out of Egypt, etc. If you did not get to hear the entire reading of Genesis, you are welcomed to go on to my YouTube channel, Trevessence Unstoppable. And on my YouTube channel, I have narrated Genesis already, chapters 1 through 50, uninterrupted. So you can listen to each chapter without being interrupted. Usually when we have the live, I talk to the people on the live, the people talk to me, people come up and we have a discussion. But on YouTube, many of you have asked me for the uninterrupted version of the reading, and so I obliged. Yeah, I obliged. Me not like editing, and me not like have to do all of that stuff. Me not like all of that. Yeah, editing for me is like a big headache. That's why I don't put out a lot of videos on my YouTube, because me and editing is just not friends. But because an overwhelming number of you have asked me about the reading of the Bible, I said, you know what, let me do it for them, just for them. Let me do at least that, because that not really call for much editing, because I'm not videotaping anything except recording my voice reading it. Okay. So with that being said, and with me not having too much time, not much but an hour this morning, we are going to be reading Genesis chapters 1 and 2, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Okay? But we need a light, because the light is not bright. Yeah, we need a little bit more light. But once again, welcome into the live. Thank you all much for stopping by. Let us get on with it. It seems dark. No, well, let me turn on a little bit light. All right, that's better. Okay, so Exodus. Moving into Exodus, we are coming off of Genesis, where the just a little synopsis of what went on just before we came over into the Exodus. Into the ending of Genesis, Joseph died. You remember Joseph? Joseph was the son of Judah. Joseph was the one who his brothers had envied so badly that they decided to throw him in a pit. Then they decided to take him out of the pit and sell him to the people who were going down to Egypt, and they sold him into Egypt, and he lived there. He was raised there. The Pharaoh who had bought him, they raised him the Egyptian way. He was, but how old was he when they sold him? 17? I think he was. So he grew down there into a very powerful person. And later on, when there was the famine in Canaan, and the only place around that had food, I mean, like wheat, because they ate a lot of wheat, from their gardens, from their farms, I should say, not garden, because not backyard garden, we're talking about their farm. When the famine started and they could not get enough food, they decided, okay, the only place that has enough food is Egypt. So we're going to go down to Egypt and see if we can procure some food for our families. When they went down there, unbeknownst to them, their brother Joseph, the one they had hated so much, the one they had thought about unaliving, he was the governor over the whole Egypt. And he was the one who was responsible for giving out the food. He was the one who decided who got what and how much they got. So when his brothers came to get the food, he recognized them, but they did not recognize him because in their minds he was dead. And so, having recognized his brothers, he decided, you know what, I'm not going to make them know that it's me right away. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait a while. I'm going to do good to them, even though they weren't good to me. Shana Manizaba Dizzle. Good morning, my love. How you doing? Good to see you. Welcome. Happy Monday morning to you. Happy December. Oh, Jesus, Sean, I forgot to tell you happy birthday. Ah, I forgot. Oh, happy belated birthday. Totally forget. Happy belated birthday, cuz I hope you're having a great day. I hope you had a great birthday. Yeah, we gotta talk later. I totally forgot. Yes, guys. So as Joseph was over the issuing of the food, Harry Faith was over the issuing of the wheat and stuff. He had told his servants, you know what? These are my brothers. So this is what I want y'all to do. When they give you the money for the food, don't take the money. Put the money back in their sack. And that's what they did. And the brothers, when they went back to Canaan, they realized, oh, shoops, our money is back in the top of our sack. Why did they do this? So they figured, maybe they're going to say they steal it. So they didn't want to be branded as thieves by the Egyptian. Because, when somebody have the blade, have the handle, and you have the blade, you kind of walk tippy toes around them, walking on eggshells. You really don't want to anger them. This was now the case between Joseph and his brothers. So when they went back to Egypt to go get some more food, they brought the money back to say, if it was a mistake, we're not going to take it. We're going to give you back the money. But when they got there and all that transpired, with them and Joseph said, it was not because of the money. We don't want the money back. It was intended for you all to get your money back. And the long story short, Joseph eventually revealed himself to them. And the one he wanted to see most was Benjamin, because if you all remember, Benjamin and Joseph were from one mother, and that was from Rachel. Remember, Rachel was the wife that Jacob loved. He didn't love Leah. He married Leah only because his uncle Laban sort of shoved Leah over onto him, but he didn't love Leah. He really loved Rachel. And the other two baby mamas, Bilhah and Zilpah, were really just the servants of both his wives. But back in the day, it was common practice for the master to also impregnate the servants so as to spread his seed around. So there was nothing new there. But fast forward now to Joseph having died, and the children of Israel, who by this time were established in Goshen. Joseph had sent for his dad and all his household and everybody to come to live in Egypt, and they had all gone down there, and Joseph petitioned with Pharaoh to give them Goshen so they can live there, and it had enough room for them and their little ones and their animals, etc. All right, so now all the children of Israel are established in Goshen. All right, now Joseph dies. And there are people without a leader, there are people without a home, because down there in Goshen is not their home. That is Egyptian territory. So they're kind of a lost people, if you will. They are working hard down there in Egypt. They have to go get their straw every morning to make bricks, and they are slaves. They are slaves. Let's just put it as that. They are slaves down there in Egypt, and they are considered to be outcasts, plain and simple. Okay, but before Joseph died, Joseph wanted to change that using his power and his authority, but then he died. So they are just left down there working for the Egyptians. Let us go into Genesis and see what happened. What happened after that? Okay, so if you want to read along with me, you are welcome. If you got something to say it in the chat. I will read it. I will listen to whatever you have to say. And let me say this again, that we are not doing this with the endorsing of any particular religion or denomination. All right? We are reading it now in particular because the Bible is what they're planning on teaching our children in schools. And as parents, we need to know what is in it that they want to indoctrinate our children with. Some of you I know don't mind, but this is for the people of those of us who mind. Okay? Exodus chapter 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. Okay, so all that generation has passed away. You know, Jacob had already died. Now his children, all of his children now have died. So it's a different generation of descendants of Jacob. That's down there in Egypt, still there. Okay? And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Kevin, I see you. What's up? How you been? Wait, I need a little bit of light here. All right, let us continue. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more, and they are mightier than we are. And my question is, how were they when they were the slaves? I guess this mighty, it didn't mean that they are more powerful, because they weren't making any laws except amongst themselves. They weren't enacting any laws that could significantly affect the lives of the Egyptians. But there was a lot of them. They were plentiful because, you know, they had a lot of children. And so their numbers were increasing. But I don't know about the mightier than the Egyptians. But we're going to continue, because this is what we find in the Bible, that sometimes the words that they use interpreted in modern day language is different. The meaning is different. For example, when we read in the Bible and they say you are without the camp, it does not mean that you don't have the camp. It means that you are outside of the camp. So you are either within, meaning that you are inside, or you are without, meaning that you are outside, in the context of the Bible. Okay? Let us continue. It says, for they are more mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. All right, you hear what was the Pharaoh's concern? Pharaoh's concern was that the numbers of the descendants of Jacob were so many. He was concerned that if any other neighboring country had decided to start a war with Egypt, he was concerned that the children of Israel might join with that outside entity and become a force to fight the Egyptians. They did not want that. Now, they knew that there was animosity between them and the descendants of Jacob. That's why they were concerned, because they had the children of Israel under real bondage. So when you have the slaves under bondage, you are worried that they would rebel by themselves, but you feel like you can control them if they rebel by themselves. But imagine if they got some outside help. That will become a real worry for you. Now he says, therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. Yeah, they were upset. Lord Jesus, and people are just too much. Everywhere you turn is descendant of Jacob. Pretty soon they're going to take over the whole place. Where have we heard that before? Have you all heard anything like that recently? Okay. Where the heap of people here come from? Why the heap of people here coming here? Why are they, all these people here? If we continue to make all these people come here, pretty soon they're going to displace us. Where have we heard that? Just asking. Let us continue. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service, wherein they made them serve, was with rigor. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when you do the office of the midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then he shall him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives, they feared God, and did not do as the Egyptian commander told them, but they saved the children, the men children. That's the boy children they're talking, but they saved the boys alive. And the king of Egypt. All right, I thought of something, but I'm going to continue. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. You know what that means, right? So the Pharaoh wanted to unalive all the Hebrew boy babies, but the midwives who were tending, who would be tending to the mothers, they did not agree with that. They did not agree with what the instructions the Pharaoh was giving them to unalive the boy babies. So they didn't. Now the Pharaoh realized that, oh shit, these midwives are not following my instructions. Let me find out why they are defying my orders. And the midwife says, well, listen, these Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, you know. When they are in labor, oftentimes when we get there, they already have the baby. The Egyptian women, they, stay in labor for a long time. Do you think that was true? I don't think it was true. I think it was a way for the midwives to escape the wrath of Pharaoh. So they had to give a plausible justification as to why they did not follow the orders. Let us continue. Don't worry if I'm not acknowledging you now, guys. I still see you all. Welcome. Thank you all so much for popping by. And the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered before the midwives come in unto them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives fear God, that he made them houses. Okay. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every man that is born he shall cast into the river, and every daughter he shall save alive. And let's see how sometimes even the rulers, the leaders, your president, the people you expect to give you, to be rational in their orders and instructions that they give you, even they sometimes are not. What could be the benefit of a country that slays all its men? Could there be any benefit for a country? So here this Pharaoh was, all he was about was his ego. But he wasn't thinking rationally. Because if you slay all the boy children, who is going to help to make additional human beings? Women and women, two women together can't do that. So how are you gonna, what kind of instruction is that? But that's how sometimes leaders allow their egos to rule them, and it rules them way beyond rationality. It's been going on for a long time. Buckle up, buttercup. Let us continue. Now we are on to Exodus chapter 2. Exodus chapter 2. And there went a man of the house of Levi that took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and had a son. And when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months, because she was afraid that they would unalive the baby. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child in it. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister, that would have been the woman's other child, but this is the woman's daughter. And his sister stood afar off to witness what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself by the river. And her maidens walked along the river's edge. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. And she had compassion upon him, and said, this is one of the Hebrew children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. I don't think that was the maid. Wasn't that the child that said that? Wasn't it the sister that said that? Let's read that again. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, this sister now is Moses' sister, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. So it's the sister. Right, Winsome? Yeah, it's the sister. And the sister went and called the child's mother. But that was also her mother. All right? Them something I just story, because me don't know, when you read a story like this, I don't know how it translates to you modifying your entire life to suit what is being said here. But I'm just saying. Winsome, good morning. How are you doing? Happy Monday to you, my love. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. Now, this was Moses' mother, and she took Moses and was nursing Moses, but she was not worried that anybody would unalive Moses, because now Moses is, I'm going to say, owned now by the Pharaoh's daughter. So nobody's gonna seek to unalive him. All the other boys around him will be unalive, but definitely not Moses, because he will be protected based on his proximity now to the Pharaoh. Let us continue. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, Because I drew him out of the river. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren. I'm sure Moses knew the story of him being put on the river, and the Pharaoh's daughter having now claimed him as her son. He now knows the story. So when it says he goes out unto his brethren, it is unto the Hebrew men, because those are who he considers to be his brethren. All right. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and look on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid his body under the sand. The amazing M&G, good morning. Exodus, Winsome. I'm reading Exodus. I'm reading Exodus chapters 1 and 2 this morning. Let us continue. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and buried him under the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, there were two men fighting, and these two men were Hebrew men fighting. And he said to the one that had done the wrong, Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? Like he says to them, why are the two of you fighting? Aren't the two of you brothers? Aren't the two of you friends? Why are you are supposed to be Hebrew men. You're not supposed to be fighting each other. So this is what Moses asked them. And the man says to him, Who make thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me, as you the Egyptian? And Moses was afraid and said, Surely this thing is known. So remember the day before when Moses slew the Egyptian man who was fighting with the Hebrew man? He thought nobody had seen him. But clearly, bush of ears and stones of eyes. We always say that back home. So clearly, somebody had seen him, but he did not see the person. Okay, so here now the Hebrew man has reminded him that we saw what you did yesterday. We saw you slay that Egyptian man and buried him under the sand. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. All right. Well, so when we finish Genesis, listen to Genesis on the YouTube. I have finished reading Genesis on YouTube. Yeah, it's just that sometimes when I have to come live and it's not early in the morning, we talk about something else rather than doing the Bible. I mean, I absorb myself all day long with just the reading of the Bible, and to Trev have some other life someplace else. You know what I mean? But since so many of you have asked me, I have obliged. And I have read the entire book of Genesis and posted it on the YouTube channel. So if you want to listen to it, you can go listen to it. It's uninterrupted. I didn't do it on the live. I did it on my own. Okay, so you can just listen to it without any interruptions. Okay, my love? Yeah. Now Moses sat down by this well up there in Midian. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. Eric, good morning. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. No. I don't know. The shepherds were driving away Midian, the king of Midian's daughters, from drawing water. So Moses had to stand up for them. All right. So here, that's at the beginning of them painting Moses as a hero. But anyway, that's not with the point. Let us move on. And when they came to Ruel, their father, he said, "How is it that ye are come so soon today?" And they said, "An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us, and watered the flock." So this is what I'm going to say I figured that happened. Based on the hierarchical structure of society back in the day, the women would not be allowed to draw water before the men were able to draw water from the well to feed their flocks. So in my understanding, that would be why these men would drive the women away. You say, no, can't come catch water here, so you have to wait. Because that was the order of the day. That's how society was structured. You know, the patriarchy, the men are the bosses and the men run things. So as a woman, you can't come draw water while a man is waiting. So that's why the shepherds would have driven the women away to say, no, you can't catch water before me. But Moses stood up to them and said, "Listen, Lord, the woman them reach here before, you know. So allow them and make them catch water." Right, Roland? Yeah. Lord, make them catch the water and go water then trough. So Moses, him being a man, he would have been allowed to draw the water. So he drew the water for the women before the shepherds, and it wasn't a problem because he was a man. Let us continue. And he said unto his daughters, "And where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him, that he may come and eat bread with us." And Moses was content to dwell with the man. And he gave Moses Zipporah his daughter. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom. And he said, "I have been a stranger in a strange land." And it came to pass, in the process of time, that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of bondage. So here the king of Egypt, now this Pharaoh has died, and the children of Israel are relieved, because here now their oppressor, the one who was giving out the orders for more and more oppression of them, is now dead. So now they have to worry about who is going to take his place. Is that person going to be as brutal, or is that person going to be kind-hearted? That's their worry. And God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. Okay. God had respect unto the children of Israel, because he saw their bondage. Okay. We are going to come back to that statement as we read along, but not this morning. We are going to first read and get the context of why we are going to come back to that particular statement. So take note. All right. But that is the end now of Exodus chapter 2. Tomorrow morning, let me see what time is it. It's 6:22. So it's time for me to get cracking. Tomorrow morning, we will continue the reading. But if you want to hear it uninterrupted, you can go over to my YouTube channel, Trev Essesnce Unstoppable. Go listen to it. I have read up to Exodus chapter, I think 5 or 6, something like that. Okay? But for this morning, this is where we are going to end the live. When we come back tomorrow, we will continue with the reading of the book of Genesis. All right? And that's where we end this morning. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you all so much for staying with me. Those of you over here and those of you over there. Sister Winsome, we will talk. The amazing M&G, we will talk, my love. So go ahead yourself. Go ahead, guys, and have yourselves a great, great day. And I will see you all again in the morning. Have yourselves a good one, guys.